You are live. Welcome, everyone, to Monday nights, Moshiach Live, as we usher in the full and final redemption. Because as we all know, only Moshiach can save us right now. As the world slowly descends into the abyss, more and more we need the redemption. So let's get started. As we know, the Rebbe tells us the best way to prepare for Mashiach is to learn about Mashiach, especially from these teachings right here, the teachings of the leader of the generation about Mashiach and Geula. So Baruch Hashem, we have the merit to do this every Monday night. Without further ado, let's get cracking. What do we got here? Okay, we're in Parshat Tzav. The Sikha was originally given on Shabbos Hagadol, on Ches Nisan. So tonight we're going to give tonight's shir in the merits of Lubavitcher Rebbe, whose birthday is tomorrow night. So Rebbe Melech HaMashiach, Rav Menachem Mendel Schneerson ben Harav Levi Yitzchak. This sikha is dedicated to you, and in your merit, we should be redeemed right now. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyad b'broi. Okay. Oh, I almost forgot my spectacles. I don't need them, but helps bring things into a little more clarity. Aleph. Toichna shel chodesh Nisan. Chodesh HaGeula. The main point of the month of Nisan is that it's a month of redemption. Shnikra kach al shemini hamarkazi Hag HaPesach Zman Chirusim, as is known and is commonly said. Hold on one second. Let me just get this out of the way. The Hag of Pesach, the holiday of Pesach, is a time of our freedom. And this is emphasized specifically in the Shabbat that comes right before Pesach, which is known as Shabbos Hagadol. Nisan hu melashon nes, so the month Nisan is from the same root of nes, or miracle. And furthermore, Nisan, ma'ara al nes nisim, is indicative of the miracle of miracles. In other words, it is a month that is filled with miracles. Hanisim v'niflaot shekadosh baruch hu aseh im bnei Yisrael b'chodesh zeh hotziim miMitzrayim. The wonders and the miracles that Hashem did for the Jewish people in this month by taking us out of Egypt. Shemismalim miuchat as hanhaga hanesiya shel chodesh zeh inin mudgash oid yoser b'Shabbos lifnei Pesach hanikra Shabbos Gadol, and we see this emphasized. This month of miracles, specifically in the month Shalom Aleichem, in the month of and not only the month of miracles, but we see also the connection to the great miracles on Shabbos Hagadol. Why is this thing across the screen? Not sure how to. Oh, okay. And this is called Shabbos HaGadol because of the great miracle that took place on this Shabbos. We know that the firstborn of Egypt were killing each other. And this great miracle of the firstborn of Egypt killing one another that took place back then when we were going out of Egypt, because of it, in all generations, it's referred to as the Great Shabbos, Shabbos Hagadol. Even more. The Shabbos Hagadol Hayisa Tchila Segula V'Nisim. This Shabbos was the actual beginning of the redemption and the wonders of going out from Egypt. That was like the beginning stage of our redemption from Egypt. The Tzarek Lahavin, so we have to understand why. Lama Davka Neshal Lamalcha Mitzrayim Bochrechen Nikra Nes Gadol. Why is it specifically that's the when the Egyptian firstborn were killing one another? Why is that specifically referred to as this great miracle? More so than the other miracles that took place. So what is it that expresses the greatness of this miracle that's called Shabbos HaGadol, more so than any other miracle? What is the connection to the fact that the Egyptian firstborn were killing one another? And furthermore, base and furthermore, why is this specific miracle the beginning of the redemption and the miracles of going out of Egypt? Seemingly, not only that what is it specifically about this miracle that is considered the beginning of all the miracles and the beginning of going out of Egypt? Those are our two questions. Furthermore, we have to understand what specifically is expressed about this miracle that is connected to with the day of Shabbat specifically. That this miracle took place and is remembered throughout all generations and called specifically Shabbos HaGadol, the great Shabbos. The Afal Pi sheyesh siva al kach. Tzarich lomar sheyesh lezeh shaychos penimius im teichen haShabbos ad kei kach sheShabbos nikra Shabbos Gadol. So there's something specifically that is connected also to Shabbat and the innermost aspect of Shabbat, and the reference to why it's called Shabbat HaGadol, the great Shabbos. Lo haisif, in addition to this, sheshaychos zeh degula nisim im Shabbat hu adgasha yisra b'shana zo sheyom harishon shel Pesach chal b'yom haShabbat. And the Rebbe said, and specifically, there's an emphasis on this great Shabbat Gadol, this great Shabbos, in the particular year that the Sikha was given in Nun Aleph, 1991, because in that year, Shabbos was the first day of Pesach, fell on Shabbos. Not far off from our year, where the first day of Pesach, or the first night of Pesach is coming on Motzi Shabbat. So it's pretty close. Okay, Sif base, second paragraph. Achad menyanim ha'ikri mageulas Mitzrayim u'gash b'Torah shegeula ha'isa in Moshe Rabbeinu. We know that the main redemption of Egypt is emphasized in the Torah, and that the redemption is specifically through Moshe. That is, anytime you talk about going out of Egypt in the Torah, it's connected specifically to Moshe Rabbeinu. Geula Shal Yisrael, he was the redeemer of the Jewish people, the first redeemer of the Jewish people. Kafisha HaTorah misparois uberucha. And the Torah goes to great length to explain how specifically Moshe was chosen to be the redeemer of the Jewish people. Specifically, Moshe, we know, said to Hashem, don't send me, send by the hand of the one who you will ultimately send. In other words, Moshe was saying, send Mashiach, don't send me to do the job. Send Mashiach, the final redeemer. But Hashem denied his request, as we know, because Moshe was the one who took us out of Egypt. And therefore we see that Moshe has a direct, deep connection to the redemption, and therefore it is his power that brought forth the redemption of the Jewish people. In other words, the power of redemption came specifically from Moshe Rabbeinu. Kafisha Hazal Oimrim al Moshe. Huga Rishon, Huga Acharon. And our rabbis teach us that Moshe was the first Redeemer and Moshe is the last Redeemer. Moshe Nikra Go Acharon. Afilo ben Negada Golami Emitis or Shnelas Bagalu Magola Aharon Zeh. And it says that Moshe is referred to as the last Redeemer as well. Specifically talking about the true and complete redemption, which we know will be through Mashiach. Sha'alai na'amar, ki metzit secha be'eretz Mitzrayim reinu niflois, b'par ki yadua. To Geulas Mitzrayim hu roish v'shoryash l'chal Geula. K'lo gam ha'Geula atzida, l'vo, kivan shu Geula, v'odavka v'koach HaMoshe. Oh, the Rebbe says just specifically, when it says just like the days when I take you out of Egypt, I will once again show you wonders. Specifically, the redemption from Egypt was the beginning and the source of all redemptions. The whole concept, the whole idea, and the whole opening for redemption took place in going out of Egypt through Moshe. And not only that, it says that the final redemption is specifically connected through the power of Moshe. In other words, since Moshe was the first Redeemer, and it says Moshe is the last Redeemer, it doesn't mean Moshe specifically. We know that Moshe is from the tribe of Levi and Mashiach is from the tribe of Yehuda. It means the koach, the power of Moshe is imbued in Mashiach to bring forth. And we know, of course, that on a deeper Kabbalistic and Hasidic level, that it says the very first sphera is connected to the final sphera. Chokhmah has a direct connection to Malchus, and of course Moshe represents Chokhmah and Malchus the Rebbe, the first and last Redeemers. But the point is that the power of all the redemptions, both the first and all the subsequent and the final redemption, comes through Moshe. He started the train, if you will, the Mashiach redemption train. Okay, Gimel. So a point of explaining this. Hatachlis hageulas Mitzrayim hi lekachti etchem li la'am v'chayoyse lechem l'Elokim v'yadasa ki ani havaya Elokechem u'metzi'ei etchem mitchaulas Mitzrayim. And it says that the ultimate redemption from Egypt was the fact that Hashem took us, and Hashem, it says, we're gonna obviously do the Pesach Haggadah in a few more days. And we're going to learn how Hashem specifically took us out. Hashem himself. It says, I'm Havaya. I am your God. I'm the one who took you out from Egypt. And that's right. I am Hashem your God, the one who took you out from Egypt. Zot, the merit is to say, that the godliness was revealed down below when we went out of Egypt. In other words, the level of God was revealed not only above and up high, but there was revealed miracles down here below in the world. As the Jewish people found ourselves down here in the physical world, we literally saw, and it was recognizable and known Hashem. There was no questions about it. There was no, well, maybe it came from whatever Bubamaites the people try to explain God out from. God was open and revealed and obvious that Hashem was the one who was taking us out of Egypt. The Kiblu as Atzmam, he had Torah, Esa Torah v'hamitzvah shehakadosh baruch hu, and we received upon ourselves Hashem as our God through fulfilling Torah and mitzvahs. V'ayidei avodah shelahem, the God is that God was revealed, and this was brought about through in the Mishkan. That's on the Mikdash V'Shirim Tevet. It says you shall build a tabernacle. Always some funny English translations to the Hebrew word, right? Mishkan is a tabernacle to fill in our phylacteries. I don't know who came up with these. Anyways, so you should build a mikdash, a dwelling, a tabernacle, and it will dwell amongst them. And we see that God's revelation took place, obviously, of course, not only in the Mishkan, but in the base of Mikdash. And the completion of the revelation of God down here in this physical world will take place in the third temple. It should happen immediately. The temple that Hashem himself establishes with his hands. Beit Nitri, an eternal temple. We're going to meet this L'Shema in the true and complete redemption. As we know, there'll be no more exile. There'll be no more exile. This is going to be the end. That's it. Eternal redemption. Because through this, God will be revealed in the entire world. Then the entire world will acknowledge and recognize and see God in his completion. In its completion, in other words, the world and the world's completion. And the glory of God will be revealed, and all flesh together will see the mouth of God and the words that he speaks. Heavy going. And we see specifically this is how that the redemption of Egypt took place in a wondrous and miraculous way. And this was done in a miracle that was above the nature. Again, there's a contrast. The Rebbe speaks how that we should go from redemption to redemption, from the redemption of Purim to the redemption of Pesach. We know that Purim was a redemption that was concealed within the nature, whereas Pesach is a redemption that will be revealed in open miracles above the nature. In a revealed way. The power of Bli Gvul of Hashem. In other words, God's power of Gvul, or the way he encloses himself and hides within the nature, was evident in the time of Purim. Whereas in the times of Pesach, God's power of Bli Gvul, or above the nature, without any boundaries, will be revealed. Was revealed and will be revealed. Be'ezrat Hashem. And it became open and obvious how Hashem was the Balabayit of the world. The world has an owner. The world has a ruler. It was obvious, and it's not peril, and it's not Biden. And therefore, this brought the power to make miracles in such a way that were completely above the normal courses of nature. Because the nature by itself conceals and hides over God's power. That's why it's called nature. What is nature? It's something that can't be explained. You can't explain it, so you'd say it's nature. How does the sun know to rise in the east and set in the west, and the moon cycles, and the birds and the trees, all the stuff? Oh, that's nature. What does nature mean? It means you don't understand it, so you call it nature. But nature conceals over God. So in other words, for God's power to be revealed in an open and obvious way, he must reveal it in a way that is above the nature, that it's no longer concealing it. And this gives the power to the Yidden and this gives the power to the Jewish people to conduct ourselves and to serve and to work in this way, that we're able to go above any boundaries or limitations we may have in general and specifically. Let me finish the thought, and I'll pontificate a bit. The Galus Mitzrayim. We saw this in the Egyptian redemption. And this is why it's a time of our freedom. Chilus and mitis, makol is true freedom from any boundaries or limitations. Including the boundaries of the garments of nature. So, let me just, 1 second. Let me just elaborate on this point for a second, and it's a very important point to internalize. That God operates on 2 frequencies. He operates in a frequency of gvul and a frequency of bli gvul. A frequency of gvul is concealed within the nature. That means it's not open and obvious. The frequency of bli gvul is completely miraculous, above the nature. And we just spoke about the difference between Purim and Pesach. So the Rebbe is saying now that God's power of bli gvul, his ability to reveal himself and to free us in ways that are completely miraculous and above the nature, gives us, the Jewish people, the power to serve God and to live in a state of redemption completely above the nature. In other words, inside every one of us is God. We have a godly soul. That godly soul, just like God, ki'ilu, so to speak, can manifest itself in 2 different levels. It can manifest itself as it does most of the time in the nature. That's when we go about our daily, day-to-day grind, if you will call it. We put on our tefillin, we go to minyan, we learn a bit, and then we go to work, and for the most part, we forget about God. Maybe we say a little bracha, and we think about it for a moment, but when we're in the details of our work, and the pressures of the world are coming, financial pressures, family pressures, whatever they are, we suddenly forget about God. We feel like we're alone, that we're just stuck to our own devices. And therefore, we shrink into this nature mode where we're living below, inside the nature. And it's a dangerous place to be because we can forget about God. But the Rebbe is telling us now we don't have to live that way. Because at every single moment, we have the ability to go above the boundaries and limitations of the nature, especially in this month of Nisan, and elevate ourselves to serve God, and in turn to bring success into every endeavor we take upon ourselves. Financial, relationship, all the worldly things, we can be above them in a way above the nature. Because we have a godly soul inside of us. We're not bound, we're not limited. The second we start thinking we have limitations, we're disconnecting from our godly soul. How do we have limitations? That's like putting a limitation on God. So the Rebbe is telling us every Jew has this power to live in a state of miracles, to work, to conduct ourselves, never to get stuck and feel like somehow like, what am I going to do about COVID, about this president, about that thing, about the lockdown, about that? We get into this panic mode. Like all of a sudden, like we're trapped. I don't know what to do. I'm not making money here. I'm having problems here. And all these problems start caving in on us. And we're, without realizing it, separating ourselves from God. Because the second we start worrying and panicking and getting nervous, God says goodbye. Meaning he can't, he's not going to struggle for control of our body with us. He's going to say, look, if you want to be worried, you want to be afraid, you want to be nervous all the time, okay, I have no place there. Because I want to reveal myself within you in a way above that. But you're limiting me. Again, we say a lot of times, and I'm speaking for myself, just because I have clarity on these things don't mean I'm successful. I wish I was successful in a little fraction of what I teach in this year. But the point is that we always have to remember that we are empowered at every single moment of the day to live miraculous lives, to never ever let anything out there interfere with our ability to live completely above the nature. And the biggest obstacle to God revealing himself inside of us and us living in a miraculous way is ourself. It's our own ego. It's our own worry, fear, entitlement, whatever these titles you want to slap on. Anyways, let's continue. כפי שהיה בשלמות הגאולה אמיתית לשלמה, שעה שהיא כמסית, ארץ מצרים הרינו נפלאות. And similar, we see in the true and complete redemption, where it says, just like I took you out of Egypt, I will once again show you wonders. Niflois legamri lamayla b'derech hateva. Wonders that are completely above from the natural order. Don't limit God. Don't think, like your problems are so big. Like, how am I going to pay my bills? Or not? How am I going to get past this? Or how am I going to get through this? What? Are you kidding me? This is a big problem for God? Don't limit God. Don't limit God to your own fabricated self-limitations. And these wonders will even be more so than the wonders when he took us out of Egypt. So think about the plagues. Think about the splitting of the sea. Think about giving of the Torah. We're going to have more wonders than those. More miracles. Could you imagine what's in store? In such a way, that you will see. It will become open and obvious to you. That Hashem himself will show them to us. And we're talking about that this is referring to revealed ones and also even concealed ones. We'll have both types of miracles. And it will become obvious. We will see the true innermost aspect of creation. And we'll reach the state of complete miracles. And all of this will take place in a way of wonders. And the power. I've got the power. Oh, I'm live. I shouldn't be singing my dance routine. Okay. And the power to bring about the redemption, our redemption, specifically comes through Moshe, the Redeemer of the Jewish people. It's our Nasi, it's our leader, it's our head that brings forth redemption. All of the problems we have in the world are in here. All of this negative tape that plays in the back of our head, our unconscious minds that are just constantly reeling and telling us how it's not going to work and how's it going to be possible and how am I going to get out of this and how am I going to pay this and this isn't working and that's not working. And all day long, that little bird that hums in your brain, negative, no, can't, won't, can't, be, impossible, how, no, negative tune playing in the unconscious mind. You got to clear it out. This is what a Nasi is. This is what a Rebbe, Rosh B'nai Yisrael, is our head. Helps us clear out that negative energy inside of us. We have to internalize our teachings of our head. David. יובן זה על ידי ביאור התוכן החידוש למשה כפי שנזבט בספר תהילים מזמור צדיק. For this we can understand that through comprehending the matter of the unique thing of Moshe, and we see it's expressed in the book of Tehillim and Mizmor Tzadik, the 90th kapitel, which is the Rebbe's kapitel that year, which begins with, this is the prayer of Moshe, the man of God. And the end of that kapitel is, and that you shall, the pleasantness of Hashem shall be upon us, and you will establish the deeds of our hands. This brings forth a chiddush through Moshe Rabbeinu. This is the first of the 11 Mizmorim. Mikan ad the David Mizmor, Moshe Aimru, that the 11th that were attributed to Moshe, as opposed to the rest which are to David HaMelech. And I think there's a couple others that have some offshoots in there as well. And it says that the pleasantness of Hashem shall be upon us. Huba bracha shel Moshe b'kasher im asheras hashchina b'mishkan. This was a blessing of Moshe, a request regarding the Shechina in the Mishkan. Amr lehem yehi ratzon shitashara Shechina b'masa yadechem, that it should be established through their hands. You know, the pleasantness of God will be upon them. So there's to say, that specifically through this prayer of Moshe, this caused the Shechina to dwell in the Mishkan. And this is upon us as well, and it's something permanent from generation to generation. In other words, the causing of Hashem's divine presence to dwell in the Mishkan and amongst all of us is once again attributed to Moshe. Hey, Ubagdim the Kufa Halvasham Bataklis has Mizmor B'Sioim Mahu Hatam Kafli Yishel Tfila Moshe Ba'achrat Ra'ish Halukim. So why does it say that this is a prayer of Moshe, and then afterwards add on the man of God? And also at the end of the pasuk, when it says double times, that you will establish the work of our hands. Why is it doubled over? What is the cause of these doubling? Whoa, what just happened over here? Oh, okay, sorry, I got attacked by my email. There we go. One of the explanations of this doubling is in order to cause the drawing down and revealing of godliness down here below in a permanent way, so it should be eternal. Excuse me, the Drashim, it's requiring two of these things to be unified together. One, Aleph, a power which is above the ordinary channels of the world. This is a power that is completely above the world, in order that it should enter and be revealed in the world. In order to change the world, to make the world a vessel for godliness. And more specifically, that this vessel for God should be permanent and eternal. Very important, because we can have revelations of God, right? And again, we have to try to channel this into our own lives. We have times when we feel that God is with us. I mean, we all have those moments where we're kind of like flying high, right? You just feel that God is with you. You're in the zone, in the flow, synchronicity, whatever you want to call it, where things are just flowing, and then it goes away. The idea is that godly energy should be with you all the time and should be permanent in you and in the world. Therefore, to emphasize this very unique power, that it should go into the boundaries of the world. And it should have the power in order to change the creation, to transform the creation. The Hemshech Zman, that it should free eternal. Base, so the first level, the reason why we're doubling over, because the first one is referring to this power of godly energy that is above the world, that should come into the world and have the ability to totally transform the world. It's a long sikha. And second, the power that it should be enclosed within the boundaries of the world. And specifically through this, it's creating a vessel. A place that this permanence of God can reveal itself and can be received in an inward way. Panimi, in other words, if it doesn't come down, I look at ideas like they're balloons, right? Everyone has all these wonderful ideas, but if you don't take them and pull them down, and they don't go through your chokhmah, bina, and das, become part of you, and actually lead to action, to transformation, and what happens is you just have these balloons with strings that you keep pulling down and then keep letting go, and keep pulling down and keep letting go, and all these wonderful ideas, and they come down and they pop up, and they come down. They're not dwelling. They're not coming down. Just saying, this is the whole point of Chabad, Chokhmah, Bina, and Das, that it should be internalized, that it should lead to real life experiences and action, that something becomes permanent. So you own it, right? There's a difference between learning and studying something and actually doing it. The more you do something, the more it becomes part of it. So he's talking about this level of godly energy, that we should have this godly energy that is above the world, that is brought down. Because if this godly energy wasn't higher than the world, it wouldn't have the ability to transform the world. But on the same token, it has to go into the world, and it has to go into the vessels of the world in such a way that it becomes panimi, that it really gets inside. And that way it becomes permanent and eternal. Vav, shnei ninim, these two matters. There's the shnei ninim, the kfri elois, the bechilos. This yom is more tzaddik, shebetchilas, this yom is more tzaddik. We see this expressed in the beginning and the end of the Mizmor Tzaddik. Yeah, b'shleimos v'gilui exal Moshe Rabbeinu Shuhu hamamutzam luchu b'Rabbeinu HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'nei Yisrael. That the complete revealing of Moshe Rabbeinu, and what is he? He's a mamutza mechubar. He's a connector and a unifier between Hashem and the Jewish people. Anochi oimed ben Hashem u'benechem. And I will stand and speak between Hashem and between them. Mamutza tzrich lihos bo shnei ininim shuhu mechubar. And what makes a person the ability to be a conduit, a connector, is that they have to have both of these things inside of them, right? That Moshe, in order for him to connect God to the Yidden, to the human being, he has to have God and the human being in him to the point that he can connect such things. More specifically, Ish Elokim, Oimri Mazal, Ish Elokim. Moshe is called Ish Elokim, literally man, God. Not man of God, although that's what we say in quick speech, but it's literally Ish Elokim, man, God. Im Elokim lama ish ve'im ish lama Elokim. Machatzav lamate ish, machatzav lamaylam Elokim. Because from the bottom half below, he was man. He was connected to the physical world. And from the midsection up, from the pulpit, I think, up, it was pure godliness. He was completely connected above to God. And therefore, he possessed both of these matters, Ish Elokim, man and God. And therefore, he has the power to unite God with the world. Because he himself had both of those entities within him. Pratis, you said more specifically, Yesh Lamar Shnei Kitzvois, Ela B'Mamutza, Heim Shnei Ninim Shal Moshe. Ish Elokim. And more specifically, we see these two matters, these two lines, if you will, and the go between both of Moshe, who is the man God, Ish Elokim. Va'al Afal Pi She'ish Elokim Hu. And And therefore, the Ish Elokim, the godly man, unifies both of these lines, man and God. And both of them are combined into one man, Moshe. As it's known that the name of God, which is Elokim, is the same gematria of Hateva, of the nature. Elokim is the level of God that is enclosed and enlivens the world, the physical world. And therefore he's called Ish Elokim. Since he's the level of Ish, from the lower half, from halfway below of Moshe, from the pulpit down, connected to the physical world. Unified together with godliness. It doesn't say Ish Havaya, man Havaya, which is a much higher level of God, a level of God that is removed or above from the world. Elokus Shemaya Habriya. V'yadua haperush b'zeh shisharash neshamas Moshe hi medarga gavua ma'oid. As it's known, the source of the soul of Moshe comes from a very high place, Alma, the Eskasia, the concealed worlds, as opposed to Alma, the Hiskaya, the revealed worlds. It comes from a very, very high level, above from the physical world. Misham min hamayim, and therefore it says from there he's taken from the water. This means Moshe, taken from the water. He's referring to the upper waters and the upper worlds, because everything down here is a reflection of what's going on up there. Mishtiyu migilui amal diskaya. And this, of course, was expressed and revealed down here in this physical world. And we see that his soul in the body down here, and therefore it was revealed from the water he was taken down here. The water down here is connected to and revealing its source above, which is the upper waters. And therefore we see Moshe's man of God. It's a Moshe. Now we see these two, this is hinted on these two matters we said above, connected to Moshe. Aleph, Moshe, is kashrus in melokus. That is connected to God above the physical world. And base, Yishalukim, he's kashrus imalukus shebe'erech labriya. He's connected to God down here in the physical world. And therefore he was imbued with the power to draw down godliness from above below, because he's connected all the time to above and below. In such a way that he is able to make an actual vessel and a permanent dwelling for God, and reveal godliness down here in the physical world. To the point that the Shekhinah dwelled amongst them. The level of God, God's Shekhinah, which is completely above the world, was able to come down into this physical world and connect and reveal itself down in this world. A side note, we're coming in this month here, the famous Sikha of Klach Nisan, when the Rebbe shook Lubavitch and said, I'm done. Now I'm giving the task to you to do all you can to bring Mashiach. He says, the light of Tohu, which is this big, very high level of lights from the upper concealed worlds, in the vessels of Tikkun, down in this physical world. In other words, we can't have shvirat kelim, breaking of the vessels, because if whatever we're trying to sell, the world isn't buying, there's a problem. There's a problem. I'm the first one to admit, I love to just go around and say Yehi and tell people to their face the Rebbe is Mashiach, and I do it all day long. And I'm not saying we shouldn't. But what I am saying is that we need to take this tremendous energy, this godly energy, this light of emes, and bring it into the world in such a way that people makabel. And they do if it's explained properly and gone forth. And again, this is one of the central teachings we speak about a lot when the Rebbe says that all the work is done. The only thing left is Kabbalah Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu, to receive Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu, the face of Mashiach. Pnei also is Panimi. So we have to have the Makif, we have to have the acceptance of Mashiach as who he is, but Mashiach has to be internalized. Mashiach has to be made real for people. They have to feel it in their bones. They have to understand and comprehend how this is good for them. You could talk to someone about Mashiach all day long. If they don't have money to pay their electricity, they're probably not listening too much. But that's a different for bringing. Anyways, the point is that we have to take this high level of godly energy, and it has to be enclosed into this physical world. Zion. We see this again according to the doubling over at the end of the pasuk of the kapitel. It says doubling, and he will establish the work of our hands. This is referring to these two aspects of Moshe. The Gilui, in order that there should be Moshe down below in an eternal and permanent way and in a revealed way. And we see the eternity of his deeds and of Moshe himself. It says Moshe lo meis. Moshe did not die. Skipping the brackets, the parentheses. And similar, his power and his individual power. We see that his deeds also were eternal. And therefore we see specifically that the power of Moshe to draw down God's divine energy, the Shekhinah down here below, came through his prayer, and specifically of this pasuk, V'hinoah, V'hiratzai, Shetashra, Shekhinah b'mas yadechem. That should be Hashem's will that his Shekhinah should dwell down here in our hands through our deeds. In such a way that it should be permanent, right? That's how you know you're affecting someone. They're transforming. They're changing. They're not taking your words and saying, "Oh, very nice," and going back and doing whatever it is they're doing. But slowly, they're changing themselves. They're becoming different people. They're wanting to internalize the message, and they're doing something about it, right? That's how you know, is through deed. The Rebbe in a different sikha in this series says that's how you know that you have succeeded in affecting the world around you, when you start noticing with your physical eyes that the world around you is being affected. And we see these two matters of Moshe. We see this again in the prayer of Moshe and in this kapitel. Wow, it's a long letter. Okay. Aleph. Hamshachas Hashchina b'Mishkan. Adukush lamar mo'il. the drawing down and the dwelling of the Shekhinah in the Mishkan, and the level of God that's above from the world. Base, and again, these two levels. The level of God that is completely above and removed from the world is drawn down. And to the second level that is brought into the physical vessels of the world and becomes pinimi, in other words, internal and permanent. Aleph. Another way to explain it is the first saying of Masiyadenu Kananei Aleinu is connected to a level of godliness that is makif, that is surrounding, that is bli gvul, that is without any boundaries or limitations. And the second Masiyadenu base, Mechoizik es Masiyadenu Atzma. The second is that so that it shall be established in an inward, permanent way in the physical world. Again, you need both. You got to have big lights to draw down into this world. In order to go above the nature of this world, you need lights that transcend the nature of the world. This is the level of maki. This is the high power of godly energy. But on the other hand, you need the second level. You need the light that not only transcends the world, but that is enclosed within the world. Otherwise, you're going to have what's known as shvirat hakelim. The world is just going to break, and it's not going to be able to receive this high level of divine energy. And we see in an even deeper way, indicative of both of these things, of eternity. And this is what's going to happen specifically in the true and complete redemption. It will be eternal, because this high level of godliness will stay here forever. That's why it's the third base of Midrash will exist forever. That's why both the first and the second were insufficient. The first is connected to a level of godliness that's above the world. The second is connected to a level of godliness from below the world. The second level. Neither one was complete. The third will have the fusion, the completion of both. But Prati Yosher, more specific, Al Piyobora Rashi Kufal Zep Ishnei Pa'amim Umasilim Kaneo Isra Al Malechas Hamishkan Shibiruchan Yisrael Tfila Shitish Arash Shchina B'Masilim Hamishkan V'Isa Shtehaya Baracha Amasiyadeha. Al Pizer Yesh Lamash Kufal Zem Rumaz Al Bracha Kufula Shemoshe Masilim Kanetchi. Hein Masay Yadino Venine Kedusha. Hein Masay Yadino Venine Rishus. Now the Rashi is explaining it a different way, that this permanent godly energy is connected to the Kedusha, holy things, and also to our ordinary things, also have to be infused with godly energy. Agam Darchecha Masecha Derchacha. You should know God in all your deeds and all your ways. Where the Hosef to feel the Moshiach Now Mitzpales Shabbat. So all these move on should be to feel Zu Yesh Shabbat. And we see specifically how it's also connected to Shabbat. But part Mizmor share the Yom HaShabbat, and specifically the song we say on Shabbos. Hu Chelet Mitzpalel Moshe, which is a part of the prayer of Moshe. Shabo Moshe v'chad shoy al shmo mizmor shir liyom HaShabbat. V'yesh l'mor ha'shaychis al ha'pasuk mizmor shir liyom HaShabbat. Oimri mazal ish kedei Shabbat k'fol v'vuar kama pa'amim sh'k'fol hu shtei adargois. Oh, all right. Maybe it's not as long as I thought it is. It's long, but it seems to not have excessively long paragraphs, pages. But call Shabbat, Mother Shabbat Yomed Shabbat Menucha Verach Ligia Menuchas Be'etzem. I'm just going to read through this and then translate outside. Al Derech Eluk Ben Shem Elokim B'Shem Evaye B'Shabbat Goim Shnehem Yachadav Kafol V'Yesh Mor Shezehu Al Kafal Metchila HaMizmor V'ish Elokim. You see Mizmor, you see the same doubling over with Shabbat. That Shabbat is also a unification of godly energy that's above the world with the world from below, and it has the ability to unify both of those things. Again, just like Moshe, Ish Elokim, you see him in Mizar Hinwam Hashem Elokim Aleinu Shois Shenoyam Darga Shabbos Masin Evenu Aleinu Bamasin Evenu Yoheim Menucha Be'erech Yeah, Bamasin Evenu Yoheim Menucha Be'etzem Klaus Yisra Kaninoy Masin Evenu Demein HaChol that the establishing of a work of our hands is referring to the weekday work and also to the holy things that we do on Shabbos. Shabbos b'dugmas Moshe, and Shabbos is an example of Moshe. Keshora im inyan haditchis, which is connected to eternity. Yidua shebakol Shabbos yishnei ma'ayin hayayim shekulu Shabbos menucha hayalolamim. As we know that when Moshiach comes, we will have eternal Shabbos. That's what we pray for. So Shabbos is a taste of redemption. And then we will have the ultimate completion of menucha, of peace, because it will be eternal. Okay, Ches. Moving right along. Give me 1 second. I want to check our time meter so I know what kind of pace I need to run at. Gotta keep up with the pace, Ace. Let's see what we got going on over here. 49, 74, 25. Oh, so we're doing pretty good here. Leaving. Okay, good. Seemed like it was really long, but it's apparently not. Ches. Yesh Lamar Tam Lakach Tfila Zet Tfila Moshe Ish Elokim. He is more tzar Tehillim. Hey Mitzar Mispar Hey Mitzar HaOis. So we see the connection to Moshe's prayer on the into his Mizmor, which is from the Kapitel Tzadik, and we see that it's connected to the number 90. As well as the letter, which is tzaddik, which is the numerical equivalent to gematria of 90. Tishi'im, the number 90. Tchila is mina hazaka inin hazaka hi shebeshleisha pa'amim nase adavar kavua hu mitchazek v'chein sha'ar la'ad. We know that the number 3 is connected to a chazaka, which is a permanence. And the completion of this is 3 times 3, because we have a chazaka and a chazaka. Gufahi tishi'im, and 3 times 3 is 90, and then its state of completion of 10 is 9. Is 3 times 3 is 9, and then it's 10, and each one as a completion is 90. 3 times 30. Because we know the completion of each number is 10. Each number has 10 spherot within it. So we have 3 times 30, which is 90. And this is the completion of the number 3. And therefore we see the number 90 is connected to the completion of a hazaka. The tishaim, who has shleimus hamayla b'chazaka. Okay, and now the letter tzadi, which is connected to the number, which is also the gematria of 90. It's really tzadi, but in many places it's actually called tzaddik with a kuf at the end. This is connected to the level of tzaddik. Which is connected to the sphere of Yisoid, because it says that tzaddik is the foundation of the world. We know that Yisoid is foundation. The Isa Mispar Sadi hu melashin tzad. Melashin muvan shetzadei pirushu tzad shali. Okay. Test. Yeh lamar Indian bazar. Now there is to say we're going to connect this to our avodas of Hashem. That Hashem created man in a way of two sides. Side Kedusha, but side connect, one side corresponding to holiness, and the other side corresponding to that. In other words, Yetzer HaToiv, Yetzer HaRa, the evil inclination and the good inclination. Since it says the Torah that was commanded to Moshe is an inheritance to Yaakov, the Chol, Yehudi, and to all the Jewish people. Shahu Torah b'mitzvahs. And what is the side of holiness? Torah and mitzvahs. That's what it comes down to. It's a humbling thought, but you're living a life of Torah and mitzvahs. You're connected to your Yetzer Tov. If you're not, you're connected to your Yetzer Hara. Even if you're not doing, quote unquote, any harm. You're just sitting around wasting your day watching television, playing video games, and tic-tacking, or whatever the hell your people are doing on their phones these days. So I didn't commit any Avera. Well, maybe not overtly, but if you're not living a life of Torah and mitzvot, you're connected to the side of not good. Unfortunately, that's just the reality of life. There's no middle here. That's it. And this is what is commanded upon the Jewish people in the world. We are here to live a life of Torah and mitzvahs. That's it. I will either explain it a different way. God created a world, and that world happens to conceal and hide over godliness. Why would he create a world that conceals him? And it's the lowest of worlds because it conceals over the light of God. To the point where we don't even feel God. So to the point that someone can not only not observe Torah, but God forbid live their life in a way that is the complete opposite of Torah, because God is so concealed. And that's the whole idea, that by learning Torah and by internalizing Torah and by living a Torah lifestyle, we transform the world from a place that conceals God to a place that reveals God. That's what a Jew is. And a religion. It's a horrible world, religion. You're religious? That was the term religion came about when all these other fake, quote unquote, religions popped up. So they threw Judaism together with religion. It's not a religion. This is who we are. We are here to be God's ambassadors of light to the world and to reveal God in a world that conceals him. How do we do that? Through Torah and mitzvahs. That's what it's about. Are you religious? And through this, it even we're able to strengthen the question. So how can it be, the Rebbe says? How is there a possibility to exist of the opposite? That if the whole point of the world is to reveal God, that we could be living in a way of the opposite. Because the Torah is dependent on the Jewish people and was given to the Jewish people. As when Israel was commanded upon all the Jewish people. Excuse me. And the life force of a Jew is dependent on Torah. This is our life. This is what makes us alive. Hashayla, Bahayus Benaga Bedava, Kitsai Yoho, the part that says, Dira Lis for Pataktan Matsai name I had. Therefore, it's connected. So, how are we able to cause and transform the world to make a dwelling place for God? If, in fact, someone is not living according to God's way. Therefore, Hashem brought to the Jewish people, therefore, God created the world in such a way that He did not force us. How could it be that there's Jews out there, if our entire purpose in coming into this world is to reveal God through Torah and mitzvahs? How could it be there's Jews that are doing the opposite? Doesn't make sense. The Rebbe said specifically because God didn't force us to keep Torah and mitzvahs. If He forced us to keep Torah and mitzvahs, then there wouldn't be free choice. And if He forced us, things would be completely different. How? We need free choice. Shehi yivchar uveras v'chayim v'tan Torah b'mitzvahs b'mila einu noga b'davar v'ajein bo v'chrach ninaga bo'ifan agadach v'etlo tzad tzayv v'adzayim connected. That's why Hashem specifically gave us one side that is inclined to do what He wants, and the other side that is the complete opposite, so we can have free choice. That's the idea. אבל מוסיפים ויוד צד כיוון שהכוונה בזה היא בחירת חיים ובחר שצד ימין היה צד הצל שלו. וזהו על דרך שני מינים במשה. Moshe, איש אלוקים. We see this represented by Moshe, איש אלוקים. In other words, the whole reason that we could transform the world into a dwelling place for Hashem is specifically because God gave us the commandment to keep Torah and mitzvahs in a world that conceals Him. But He didn't force it upon us. That's what makes the world a vessel to be able to be transformed, because it wasn't forced. People don't, including the world, don't respond to someone pushing or forcing them, right? Any parent will tell you out there, a lot of times we have to be smart sometimes with a child. Yeah, sometimes you got to tell them directly, do it because I said so to do it. But you need to sometimes maneuver a little bit, right? People by nature will resist if they feel they're being forced to do something. So the world itself, the physical world, would resist this godly energy if it was being forced upon it. And therefore God gave us free choice. And specifically because we're choosing to keep Torah and mitzvahs. By that, we're able to transform the world. The world is a vessel for transformation. And we see this again through Moshe. Moshe is al shemin hamayim shesehu, that he was taken out from the water. Harihu kasher b'gilei rak im elokus, and he was connected only to God. Im ein mayin el Torah, and so there's no water, there's no Torah. Torah he world. And the Torah is what literally creates the world and what rules over the world. Bereshis, Bishvil Torah, Bishvil Yisrael. Bereshis is talking about the two bases. The world was created for the sake of the Torah and for the sake of the Yidden. Excuse me. And therefore we have the power specifically to transform the world and draw down and reveal godliness into the world. This is the level of Moshe in a godly state. And then we have the level of Moshe of Ish as a man. That he has a physical body from the coarseness of the world, just like the nations of the world have a physical body. And therefore we see both components. We have this complete physical aspect of Moshe, that he's literally coarseness and physical body. And at the same time, we have this high level of godly energy that's completely removed from the world. Move on. Shekevan Sadi. Bo. Specifically, as a physical body, with a soul, in a physical body, in a physical world. That gave us the power to transform the world. That we can remove the covering of the world, if you will, specifically through the Torah. And this is brought about specifically through revealing the true inner dimension of the world, which is godliness. Specifically by revealing the true inner dimension, we're able to reveal the godly energy in such a way that it will permeate the world eternally and permanently. Good. One second. 6 minutes. 6 minutes. 6 minutes. Dougie Fresh, you're on. 1 second. Okay. I lost my place. Oh, good. But we still need to understand. בחלק הרישוס שבאוידם בטבע האוידם שמשם אלוקים. היוז שהעבודה דביר האוידם הוא הידי לבשוס בקינס איש אלוקים. הרי זה מסקבל גם בגדר האוידם. Okay, so we still need to understand what we said above. And to draw down this godly energy into the permissible, in a permissible way, into the world, into the nature of the world, and transfer into godly energy. That the service of biurim, of purifying the world, is through specifically in clothing in a body. This is Ish Elokim. We got to be in the world. Said that. And then specifically, the world is a vessel to receive this godly energy. And then the whole entire world can be transformed into a dwelling place for God, a permanent dwelling place. Pina ba'olam negdas elokus chas v'shalayim. Im kein kitzad yesh v'chano l'po gam tzad shekened mekoy shebo kavar haya mekshol hevech et harachmon elitzlan. Okay, let me see what I just said here. Hold on, I just got a little confused what I said. 1 second. The service of purifying the world is through clothing in the level of Ish Elokim, and that this should be received also into the boundaries of the world. But when it says that all the whole world is necessary to make a dwelling place for Hashem, a permanent dwelling, from this we can understand. Muvan shelo yichol l'hashir, does not leave anything. Pina, in the world. Should be negdas ha'elukis, that will reject it. And if so, then there's a power for the opposite side, that it should become an opposite. So, all right, I'll keep explaining. I'm going to read inside and I'll keep explaining. Speak l'mor sh'ayidei tefillah Moshe ish elokim. Harizah megia gam v'tachtoin she'ein tachtoin lamata mimenu v'hafuch gam ahoiz. V'yesh l'mor she'ein zeh merumaz v'kach she'moifsim letzad ish hazeres amalat tzadik v'kav yiroi lamata min hashura. So this is, again, when we say we're adding the kuf to tzaddik. So tzaddik, the kuf goes down, because the idea is, if this godly energy is not brought all, like we were saying earlier, is not permeating into the depth and depth and depth of the world will push it off. It'll reject it. So everything has to go all the way to the lowest aspects of creation. And we see this, again, in our individual lives. There's a difference between changing and transforming. Changing is, what are I just read the other day in a book that Alcoholics Anonymous, AA, has a name for these people. They're called, it's called white-knuckled sobriety. White-knuckled sobriety. Sobriety. What is white-knuckled sobriety? White-knuckled sobriety is they're on the wagon, they're not drinking, but anytime they go around alcohol, their knuckles are turning white because they can't handle the allure of it. So yeah, they've changed their behavior, but they haven't transformed because it hasn't gotten down in the kishkas. To transform, it's got to get in your kishkas. This is why we don't realize it so many times, that our unconscious mind and our conscious mind are operating on two different frequencies. So we're doing something and we're saying things, but we don't mean them, right? It's like with education with a child. When they're like, oh, come on, just go do this, whatever. And okay, we're saying go do it, but they're hearing from our voice weakness. If you don't do it, I'm not going to do anything about it, all right? So we may say, yeah, I want to do it. Yeah, you really mean it? You really want this? Yeah, I want it. And then we do it, and it's not really working. Like, look, I said I wanted it. I tried. It didn't work. No, because what you're saying, and sometimes even what you're doing, is not in your being. It's not in your kishkas. It hasn't gotten down to your innermost essence. When something is in your essence and you have a commitment, you'll be mitzliach. It's the same thing with bringing godly energy into the world. It has to come all the way down into the world, or the world will just reject it. Because it may change a little bit, but it's not going to transform. It reminds me of the story of the Baal Shem Tov. One time his Talmidim came out, and some lady was chasing after him with a kitchen knife. She was running after the Baal Shem Tov, and he was running around from her, and he outran her, and he was exhausted, and they catch her over later, and they're like, "You're the holy Baal Shem Tov. You're running away from some housewife with a knife? What are you doing?" He said she really meant it. In other words, the Rebbe says everything follows the will. When someone has a real ratzon to succeed in something, they'll succeed in it. But we can't delude ourselves, right? We can't trick ourselves to think we really want something when we really don't. It's the same message in a general way the Rebbe is talking about now, of bringing this divine energy into the world. So, we could see it even with McCarvey people. It's like, you say something to someone and, it's a nice word or whatever. Okay, man, okay, it's nice. But it's a difference when you're like, really, like, you mean it and it's internalizing. But the godly energy has to go down to the lowest aspects of creation. And this is the kuf, that's the end of tzadi, because it's one of the letters that go below the line. And below the line means permeating into the lower reality. And that's what we need for transformation. In a general level and in a specific level. Yud Aleph. Al Hapei Rishonal Shem Moshe Al Shem Min Hamayim Mishnasar Mishiysehu Vezagilu Shem Mevayir. And explaining above that Moshe was drawn from the water. This is hinted on the revealing of the name Havaya. The Maila Min Ha'olam, which is above from the world. Amad Eskasia, the concealed world. The Sha'alas, the Chora, Koshia, Pshuta. This arises a simple question. Mayim, which is water. Hayu Me Anilus, and he was drawn down. Shem B'Seif Al Sfat Ayor. V'Smechus La Avodah Zarah B'Mitzrayim. If Moshe Rabbeinu was drawn from the highest waters in the upper worlds in such a godly place, and that corresponds to the water down here below in the physical world, why was he taking out of the Nile River, which was the seat of Avodah Zarah for Egypt? The worst, you couldn't find a holy water to take Moshe out of. Like this is, he could have popped out of a mikveh or something, or like he came out of the most polluted water there is. The Egyptians used to worship this water and do nasty things inside of there. Doesn't seem to correspond. V'gam dakabo bat Parai melech Mitzrayim yotzez Moshe min hamayim. Not only that, Batia, the daughter of Pharaoh, steeped in Avodah Zarah, is the one who pulled Moshe out. V'ikra lo Moshe al shem min hamayim yishesehu. The dafka al shem hu zeh he nikra ketzad netiim zeh im haperush v'chasidus. Again, Moshe was taken from the holiest places and the highest levels in the super lofty water in the upper worlds, but he was brought out of the most polluted water in the world, complete opposite. So what's going on? Habir bezeh. The highest things above come down to the lowest places. In order that it should reveal godliness that is completely above from creation. Specifically, the daughter of Pharaoh had to be the one to pull Moshe out. The lowest, the highest comes to the lowest. Yeah. Shehi taitzi es Moshe memakoyim shel avodah zarah, and therefore Moshe literally came out in a place steeped with idol worship. But Isaac, we have a similar thing with Abraham Avinu Terach, but his father was steeped in idol worship as well. But some of the biggest ballers in the history of our people come from the most challenging of surroundings and circumstances. And therefore we see specifically that Moshe was drawn down from the highest level of the concealed waters and was brought down into the lowest level of the revealed waters. ועל פי זה יש לומר שמשה היה בטקס בסוף על שפת העיר סמיכות למקום עבודה זרה, אבל באופן של מוגן על ידי הטבע ופשטוס הייתה פתוחה מלמעלה. זאת אומרת שמשה בטבע זה גילוי לפי שמיע ויצא שם רעשה ולאחר מן המים ששם בס פרי דווקא הוא גדול בבית פרי מלך מצרים. She was the daughter of the king of Egypt. הרי זה נותן כוח למשה שיכול לשבור אחר את הקליפה במצרים להוציא את בני ישראל משם. Specifically because Moshe came from such a high place. He was brought into the very palace of Pharaoh. But because his energy was from such a high place, he had the ability to break all the klippas and take the Jewish people out of there. And it comes out from this in the pasuk, Tefillah Moshe Ish Elokim, the prayer of Moshe, the man of God. Kloi laga minina shlishi Elokim. The Moshe ha'avoda bebira batachton shein tachton lamatu mimenu v'yesh l'Moshe einin zeh merumas be'einin tefillah Moshe mavor b'chasidus I'm tongue-tied tonight shezehu tefillah ashir shekasher re'im atzmos yisrech sh'lemau ma'havaya Elokim. We see that the service of rectification down here in the physical world, in the lowest parts of the world, there is to say, this is hinted also in the prayer of Moshe, as it explains that the prayer of Moshe is a prayer of richness, which is connected with the very essence of God, that is above from the name Havaya and Elohim, from the highest of levels, and the power to unify them together. Shebekoach ha'atzma is the power, the very essence of God. Nimshach elukim b'kol oilam b'kol darga sheboyar b'takton shetakton d'matu mimenu, to draw down into the lowest aspects of reality and rectify them. And this will take place in the true and complete redemption. And then God will completely remove the impurities from the world. And there will be no more war, and the entire occupation of the world will only be to know God. And then there will be revealed that God will establish the work of our hands. Yud base. And this is also hinted in Mizmor Tzadik. Yidua Perush, a lot of focus on this Mizmor. That this world was created with the hate. And the letter Hey has three lines. This one, and this one. And they're connected to the three levels of the world of actual creation, which is Bria, Yetzira, Asiya, the three lower levels of creation. Machshav Dibor Ma'aseh, also connected to thought, speech, and deed. Chagag V'Regel Yemini, the Heim Keneged Machshav V'Dibor. Regel Yismodi, and the roof and the right leg are connected to Makshava and Dibor, thought and speech of the Hay. And the left leg is connected to doing, the world of Asiya. Kivan sha'olam al milui nivra ma'ova muvan sha'api sha'olam hazeh nivra b'hei shishnei ha'posek lifnei oilam ha'asiya. אף על פי כן הריזה מילוי באופן כפי שהקדוש ברוך הוא עשה בשם אלוקים, ישנה אדם המעלים על אלוקוס. עבור בעולם היה בצדיק, אחורי תרבה מצב בצדיק בני ישראל. And God created the world, as we said, in a concealed state. And the whole point of that is so that the Yidden can be his partner in revealing him and making it complete. The Acharzeh, שישנה עבודה עד הקוף, הקדושה, שמגיעים גם במקום. שמצווה היה ישר אויס קוף, שרגלה השמאל, יורד למטה מן השור, למטה מהמקום, שבו ברא הקדוש ברוך הוא עשה העולם כתחילה. הכוונה בזה היא אשר ברא אלוקים לעשות, התיקון, ושתכף שותף על הקדוש ברוך הוא מעשה בראשית. וראה מקום הזה שכפה משה. זה תכן שלמות עבודה בצדק. שהוא ממשיך צדיק. Okay, למטה מן השור. Yud Gimel. Okay, this. Coming to almost done. Al pi kahana muvan medua dafka Moshe hi begua alam shel Yisrael. And according to what we said above, we see that Moshe specifically will be the redeemer of the Jewish people. Or is the redeemer of the Jewish people? He's the one who took us out of Egypt. He was the first redeemer, and he will be the last redeemer. And through Moshe, we have the power to draw down this level of above any boundaries whatsoever. And our boundaries and limitations to go out of any boundaries or limitations we may have, Gan Klipas, all the Yesh Mitzrayim, and including the Klipas, of the shells that are keeping us contained, if you will, from our true abilities. We have the ability to break through them. God will meet the Shema, including the true and complete redemption. It's just like when I took you out of Egypt, I will once again show you wonders. Not only miracles as are enclosed within their nature, but miracles that will be revealed completely above the nature in a wondrous way. And then we will have God's eternal home, and we will all live forever in this eternal redemption. Yud Dalet. And now we see specifically why Shabbos Hagadol and the connection of Shabbos to this great Shabbos specific. Specifically through the miracle of the Egyptians firstborn killing one another. That the power of the nations themselves in Egypt, Eretz Ma'ala Gilulim, Biror the cover, the rectification and refinement through revealing God. Even above from the miracles that the Jewish people themselves. And to the point that will be revealed even more. The power, the eternal power, and the power of Bli Gvul, without any boundaries of God. That really, that this true power of God above the nature was revealed in Egypt itself, to the point that they were literally killing each other. In other words, it went down into such a low place that they were mamish doing Hashem's work for us. And therefore, specifically, it's called a great miracle. And therefore, it was the beginning of the redemption of Egypt. That specifically took place on Shabbos. Because Shabbos itself is connected to eternal redemption. It will be eternal redemption, eternal Shabbos. The Shabbos is full. Shekafal kashrei gam ez gam hagula. Lochein b'Shabbat Shabbat kora hanes gadol. The Malchut Mitzrayim muchreha. Hazeh b'hafich ez hakol haShabbat. Shenasa Shabbos gadol. Lochein yesh b'koach Shabbat zeh levarech ez Chag HaPesach. See specifically that this miracle took place on Shabbos, because Shabbos is indicative of the redemption, and it will be an eternal redemption, eternal Shabbos. And we see specifically in this year, Shabbat Gadol b'Shabbos Parshat Tzav. Shabbos Gadol falls on Shabbos Parshat Tzav. Ein Tzav ele lashon ziruz miyad ledoros. Shemadgish oy yoiser es hagilui enyan hanitchis lamata. L'koach shegarbol mitzvah Moshe Rabbeinu. Tzav es aharon. Just like we see that Hashem commanded Moshe. And he said, command Aharon. Aharon harizah magia l'kol Yehudi. And then from then to all the Jewish people. And this is connected to the eternal power that Hashem gave to the Jewish people through Moshe. Then and now, forever. Miyad. It should happen immediately. Ein lo shum hapara afilo echav milafo as it's miyad. Without any delay. Excuse me. Any delays whatsoever. The doors and in a nimshak ba'ifan ba'ofen's reasons should be in a quick, in a speedy way. Gam b'doros haboy lamed rabim, lashon rabim. Akasher yishna hazaka v'hashleisha doros. I said nase in a nitchi. And we should have the establishment of the work of our hands from all the generations. Tesvav. Ha'amor le'el. Hu b'hagashi yisra v'hamitzanu v'chodesh Nisan l'shana zu. We see specifically in the month of Nisan in this year. Hayat ha'shana nifleis reima. The year that I will show you wonders. Again, we're in a parallel year. This was in Nun Aleph, and now we're in Pei Aleph. It's 30 years. And just like Nun Aleph was Niflot Arneno, wonders I will show you. Or now we're in Pei Aleph, which is Pa'alot Arneno, miracles and more wonders I will show you. So we are in a literally replica year, 30 years later. Including all the miracles that took place in that specific year, that took place close to Purim. The miracles with Saddam Hussein and the Balfour, and we continue that Hashem will reveal more and more miracles. Areno Niflois revealed wonders before us, and the true wonder of the ultimate wonder of Melech HaMashiach himself. We see that the nations of the world are fighting, the Arab nations amongst themselves. These are signs that we are close to the true and complete redemption. And it says, and it brought down that the time of your redemption has arrived. That's what the Rebbe said that year. That we're in the Gula. The time of redemption has arrived. Tes Zion. And everything that we just learned out, every Jew must take this and internalize it in our own individual service. As we are standing in the year that I will show you wonders. And specifically in the month of wonders of Nisan. And we're in the week of the month, the week of the holiday of Pesach, the time of our freedom. The or Hamoirais when you see him that we'll literally see the wonders with our physical eyes. And the Rebbe said it's necessary to arouse all of the Jewish people even more, to arouse our will and our power to carry out our service in a miraculous way. In the most miraculous way possible, we need to serve Hashem. And we must also apply this to the learning of our Torah and doing our mitzvahs in the most the best way possible. And even more and more, when you go from strength to strength. People continue to see tremendous and great miracles. Hashem will establish the work of our hands, just like the pasuk we said from Moshe. And Moshe himself gives the power to every single Jew. And specifically through the level of Moshe that's inside of every one of us. We've got a little Moshe inside of us. And says, my people are all righteous. We are all revealed that the Jewish people are all righteous. We all reach a level of tzaddikim. And that we have to increase in the service of our own service and our influence on others. It's spreading out the well springs out. Including adding on the mitzvah of spreading the laws of Noach, the 7 laws, to all the nations of the world, the non-Jews. We should add on even more in our service of Hashem. 104, and it's hashgacha pratis that are going out to the light in these days, which is 104. Gematria tzadi, mabes nevechirim shal medina zo sheyesh lahem hakoach hadina malchus dina, which have the power to also spread out to the nations of the world. Yom and Yom Eshtei Eser Yom, and specifically on the 11th day of the month, connected to the Rebbe's The Rebbe's birthday is an opportune time for this, the Rebbe says. And it should give us the power and strengthening us to do more good. We should also make sure that everyone has all their needs for the Yom Tov holiday. We have to arouse an addition and request all those amongst us and all of our places. We should, increase Sidarim and make sure we're inviting people who come in all places. Every single one. They'll continue in our work. Surely Hashem, we help all those in all places who need shalom, brother, who need help, and Hashem will bless us and give us all that we need. Maybe Hashem's will. That we shall have the completion of the prayer of Moshe, including the prayer of Moshe inside every one of us. Tefillah Moshe Shilukim, the prayer of Moshe, who is the man of God. And God will establish the work of our hands. 1 second. What is today? Today is and God will establish the work of our hands. And the Shekhinah will dwell amongst us. And we will reach the completion of all of our deeds and our work in the time of the exile. And immediately, it should happen right now. Based on the Shlishi in the third temple, the temple that Hashem himself will establish with his hands. Okay, gentlemen. We do not have a class next week because we're in Tzav again, because it's Pesach, so we don't start Parsha Shmini until the following week. So I will see you all in the Beis HaMikdash, Chas v'Shalom, if not, in 2 weeks. But I want to bless each and every one of you and all of Israel. Should have a Pesach, Chag Pesach, HaKasher Shemeach. Should be a kosher and happy holiday. We should go out of any boundaries or limitations, imaginary, real, whatever they may be, in whatever capacity, in health and relationships and money and anything. We should all have personal redemption in every capacity, and we should have the full and final redemption with the Hizgalus of the Rebbe Melech HaMashiach right now. God bless you. God bless you. Have a wonderful week, a happy and a healthy and a beautiful and joyous and kosher Pesach. And I'll see you guys in the Beis HaMikdash.